Now, some things about cleaning, what I've got here, etc. A lot of people are really purists about cleaning their firearms, and they'll only use one particular type of cleaning solvent or oil, and everything has to be very specific. I've been in many situations where I had to improvise, and that's carried over into my home life. Basically what I've got here is some Rem Clean. Rem Clean is a product by Remington for cleaning firearms. It's actually not my preference. My preference is good old Break Free CLP. Break Free CLP is mild, but it does a good job cleaning, lubricating, and protecting, hence the CLP. I'm currently out of it, but I recommend it. It's a good product. I've also got, I clean, since I'm out of it, I clean with the Rem Clean, and then I lubricate with the LSA. LSA is just a military basic lubricant. If you're in the field and you have to, I've lubricated my firearm with such things as motor oil right off the dipstick. Sewing machine oil I used almost exclusively in Afghanistan for many years because I could not get proper lubricating oil for a firearm. It actually is small machine oil, so it worked quite well. I'm sure it broke down a lot quicker because a sewing machine does not run hot like a firearm does, but it served its purpose. Cleaning items you may need or want to use. This is a GI toothbrush for cleaning firearms. I like this one because it's got the small bristles down at the bottom, so you can get into tighter places, but you can use a standard oral type toothbrush if you want. This is a soft bore brush for a 9mm pistol. Any of the bore brushes that you get, you want to make sure that it is in your caliber, because if it is for a .45 and you're trying to use it on a 9, you're trying to force it through the barrel. I have a preference to use the plastic on my handguns because I know the plastic will not scratch the inside of my barrel. Copper, brass type brushes generally will not also, but the plastic works really well for me. I've got a patch holder here, and this is just a standard GI patch holder. I can actually screw brushes into the front if I so please, but it's got a little slot in it to put a patch through. It's easy and uncomplicated. I like it fine. Rags, I've got a rag to use just to as a mat to keep things clear, and a rag to actually clean with. I've got Q-tips. These are good for getting to tight spaces. I've got pipe cleaners, good for getting into tight spaces. Now, this is actually for my AK, but I thought I'd show it to you. It will work in the Glock fairly well. It's a really good product. This is called a bore snake. Bore snake has a little weighted brass piece at the end and what looks like a shoelace. You run this down your handgun or rifle barrel, and then when you get to this point, you've got a built-in copper, brass, whatever it is, I think it's brass brush built into the fibers. So as you start to pull it down your bore, it's scrubbing. The rest of it is all soft material, and that sweeps it clear, pulls all the junk out of it. So it's a very good tool for cleaning your bore. Onto the Glock and cleaning. Alright, many firearms, the first time you pick them up, are a pain in the behind to disassemble if you're not used to it. The Glock is probably one of the most bad bear handguns to disassemble if you've never touched it before, because it's just a little particular. First off, for safety, I keep all my ammunition out of my cleaning area. I am actually out in the carport, and all my ammunition is back in the living room. So that's just a safety measure that I like to practice. You don't have to do that. There's no hard and fast rule. I just know to keep one activity separate from the other If you're in the field in the WRL or WROL situation, sure, you'll want to have your magazine close at hand. But here at the house, I'd rather keep it separate for safety. Now, I have checked my firearm and it's empty. No magazine in. Chamber is empty. Ammunition is removed. And now I want to break it down. The first thing on the Glock to disassemble the Glock is ease the springs. And what that is it's cocked now. Go ahead and squeeze that trigger. Ease those springs. If you look, you're going to see a tab on either side of the frame. One there and one there. Identical tabs, they're tied together. You need to pull these tabs down together at the same time. But first, to do that, you need to ease the slide off of the tabs or pull it back. If you pull it back too far, you're not going to get it. If you pull it back not far enough, you're not going to get it. So what I like to do is just grab like this, right around the back and the rear sights, and just ease it off, just like that, about 1 millimeter. Now let me show you what I'm saying. Is there it is. It's eased off just about that much. And what I'll do is pull the two tabs together and release it forward. Believe you me, the first few times you try this, it's exasperating because you've got one tab lower than the other, or it's not pulled back far enough or pulled back too far, and you're going to swear that something's wrong with your handgun, but it's not. So take a look at the tabs. Here are the tabs. Maybe you can see better this way when I'm pulling them down. You'll see this slide stop just here, and this camera's probably not going to pick it up, but when I pull both tabs together, it pulls down. Therefore, you can slide that slide forward. Okay, you may be able to see better if I just pull one slide and wiggle it. Pull one tab, I mean. Alright, pulling one tab, you can see it wiggle. It's also not doing the job, so you got to pull both tabs at the same time. Let me show you that again. To put the slide back on, these grooves onto these rails, and go ahead and slide it straight on and all the way back as if you were chambering around, and it's put back together. Alright, starting over, to take it apart, I want to ease the springs by pulling the trigger. I want to slightly pull this back about 1 millimeter or so, 1/16 of an inch, something like that. Pull down these two tabs on either side evenly at the same time and slide it forward and off. Show you again. Try it from different angles. Alright, I'm doing this upside down and backwards, so hopefully you'll be able to see it better. I just pull the slide back 1 millimeter. I pull both tabs down at the same time and then push the slide all the way forward off the rails. Alright, enough said on that, beating a dead horse. Next, you got this operating rod and operating spring. You just want to push it forward a little bit and pull it off. There you go. You can set that aside. You'll see different variations on this according to what generation of Glock that you have. Then the barrel, just slide it forward, lift up, and pull it out. And that's all you need to disassemble for cleaning. You want to inspect every time you clean a firearm and make sure you find no obviously chipped, broken, dented parts. You'll see that this is very dirty. I did a bunch of shooting. Dirt is not a bad thing. Carbon like that. What's bad is when you get really built up gunky carbon or dirt, sand, rust, etc. Now, to clean, I like to start with the slide. And I'll just put a little bit of this rim oil, rim clean, excuse me. Not too much, just 3 or 4 dots. And I'll use the toothbrush to loosen it all up. Any exposed metal part that was carboned up, I'll give it a good scrubbing. I want to pay special attention to 2 different areas, very close to each other. One is the bolt face right there, and the other one is the extractor. The extractor is a little tip of metal just there. Hopefully you can see it. If it doesn't show up, I'll put a picture in. This extractor actually pulls the spent round, the expended round, out of the chamber. If it gets dirt underneath there, a buildup of dirt, it's not going to function correctly, and you're going to have stovepipes, double feeds, etc. So you want to keep that clean. As you go, as you're cleaning, scrubbing away the carbon, you're looking for rust, you're looking for broken, problem, bent parts, but a modern firearm, modern handgun especially, is a very sturdy piece of equipment. You always want to inspect as you go. Okay, I've given the slide a quick scrubbing, and then I'm going to go back with my clean rag and just wipe at all the areas, removing a lot of that carbon buildup that's in there. You're going to find that some areas you're not going to be able to get to with your finger and the rag. So therefore, you have your Q-tips and pipe cleaners, which are really handy. When I was in the Marine Corps, our rifle had to be cleaned completely spotless with 000 carbon on it. Later in life, I was issued an MP5, a suppressed one, which, for those of you that know, is a carbon monster. It's just if it thinks about being fired, it'll spew carbon all over itself, and you can never quite get it spotless. So that was kind of exasperating for me, but it was good because it taught me that you do not have to have it inspection ready, 100% carbon free. You need to have it functionally clean. Functionally clean is a lot different than some baloney white glove inspection clean type thing. But I'm rambling. Alright, so I've cleaned under that extractor quite well, and the bolt face. Those are areas that I care a great deal, that I think need a great deal of attention. Now on the exterior, as you go, around the sights, the whole body, you want to give it a wipe down. You're looking for any kind of surface rust. I don't live near the coast, but those of you that live near the coast will have a lot worse problem with surface rust, and that's salt air. And you've got to sort of constantly fight it. Any of you preppers whose preps involve a boat on the ocean, you will definitely have to fight rust on your firearms. Okay, I'm happy with that. It's not perfect. It's a good, quick cleaning. Set it aside. Got the operating rod, operating spring. Glock might actually call this something different. I don't know. But I don't do anything other than a good wipe down and inspection. Set that aside. I've got the frame itself. I'll give that a wipe down and pay some special attention. I like to clean down in the pistol grip because it will get some gunk in it. I like to actually scrub that one spot. quick scrub, dry it out good with my rag. Now, I'm basically going over the top of the frame with my rag and doing a wipe down. I don't have too much of a need to scrub here. I more wipe and pull outwards any junk that's built up. If I've got a lot of grit in there for some reason, then I'll go back and scrub. But basically with my rag, with my Q-tips, and pipe cleaners, I can get everything I need done on the cleaning. I don't have a very big need to put a lot of, let's see, I've got a Q-tip stuck. I don't have a big need to put a bunch of oil in here. I'll show you later when I lube it. Okay, onto the barrel. If you look down your barrel after firing, you'll see it's sort of sooty. Maybe some grains of unburnt powder in there. I'll take my brush and I'll start by just putting about, that's probably about 12 or 15 drops of that rim clean on there. Some people like to use very specific bore cleaner, bore solvent. I just haven't had a need for that in this type of firearm. Now you'll see me going both ways with this plastic brush. That's an advantage of the plastic brush. If you were using a metal bore brush to clean it out, you only ever want to go one way. Now this was designed for specifically for rifles, that technique, but I kind of stick to that. With a metal bore brush, you want to push it through the direction that the round would go, unscrew it, take it off, pull the rod out, screw it back on, and do it like that again. That is a good practice, because reversing the brush inside that bore will eventually lead to some scratching, and those scratches over years, over time, can become worse and degrade the effectiveness of your firearm. I like the plastic because I can just happily scrub away in there and get it as clean as I want without worrying about damage. Now, before I finish cleaning it out, I'm just going to do a quick scrubbing with my toothbrush on the outside. I have to do the whole thing. It's just these nooks and crannies up around the chamber that have accumulated a lot of carbon buildup from shooting. Now, to finish mopping it out and such, what I'll do is give it a wipe down on the outside, take my patch holder, and oddly I'm out of patches too. So what I've done is I've cut a piece of this old t-shirt, fold it in half, and use it as a patch. Now, to my eye, this is approximately the same size as a 9mm 30 caliber type patch. Push it on through, and it comes out gunky as heck the first time. Now I can pull it back through. Some people won't even pull the patch back through. That's fine, that's up to you. I don't mind that much. Sometimes I'll fold it over like this. Push all that junk out. Okay, I've punched it 3 or 4 times. It looks nice and clean. I'm happy with that. Alright, it's important with any of the straight out solvents or cleaners, such as this rim clean, that you actually get all of the solvent cleaned out, because the chemicals over time could do some damage to the metal of your firearm. So you want to clean it all off before you lubricate. That's why I tend to like break-free CLP, because it is your cleaner and your lubricant. Sure, it's not as, I don't know what you'd want to call it, it's not as astringent as some of these solvents, but it does a good job. Lubricant, I am going to put just a few drops in here, and think about working parts. That's where you want especially your lube to go. On my rails, I'm putting a little lube in there, just a couple of drops on either side. Some people will hose it down. I don't think it needs that unless you're in a saltwater environment. And I'm going to use one of my Q-tips to get it into that rail, into that groove, or I should say, that runs on the rail. And so you've got good lubricant on those moving parts. Then I'm going to take a little bit on my finger, and I'm always very cognizant of the bolt face on a firearm, because the bolt face takes a lot of abuse, and over time you will see small indentations or divots out of it if you don't take care of it. So I like to pay it some special attention, make sure it's cleaned very nicely, nothing's left on there, and give it just a fine coating of lube. Alright, slide's done. I'll give just a little lube along the base of my barrel. And just a little bit of lube onto the actual rails on the frame. I am telling you, you will see some people hose their firearms down with tons of lube. I'm not saying it's wrong at all, but I don't think it's necessary to use all that much. I will, on the day of firing, if I've got time, put a little extra on all the surfaces. The reason for this, though, is not so much operational as it makes it easier to clean at the end of the day. Just like using some PAM on a frying pan makes it easier to clean up later. Alright, I'm basically done. I want to put it back together. Put the slide upside down on the table. Take the barrel, hold it about like this, set it nose in first, and just drop it in there. Drop it into place. It should fall back into its original position. Now this little nitnoid, the operating rod, is probably the trickiest part of putting it back together. You want to seat this plastic portion forward into the nose, and then you want to push forward, put pressure on the spring, and drop it all the way down, and make sure it goes all the way down into its groove. It's got a top step that it could stop on. You want to make sure you set it all the way down and in there. I'm going to take the slide, take the frame in your hand, line up the slots with the rails, push it. You might have some resistance, so give it a good push all the way back, let it go. There you go, it's back together. That's basically all there is to it.